If I was to look back at the past 20 years of my career as a peak performance mind coach, there's a single question that stands out among all others as to what athletes want to know. Why do we think the negative and fearful thoughts that we do? Now, we already know that negative and self-berating thoughts do us absolutely no good. We sense how terrible they feel. We observe firsthand the countless number of shots they cost us during far too many rounds. And yet, we continue to allow the mind to wander in crazy and sabotaging ways, what many call the monkey mind, in essence, a mind that takes over with an unending barrage of chatter over which we feel we have little or no control. So why then do we think negative thoughts, given that we know they do not help? And better yet, what can we do to more consistently put and keep a few of the good ones in play? The answer begins with an exploration of how the mind works relative to human performance. As I travel the country doing mind coaching seminars and clinics, I'll often begin an event by talking about the nature of thought and whether we deliberately choose the ones we think. The consensus with most is that we do choose our thoughts, which is an inaccurate concept I work to debunk right away. As a case in point, we would never walk onto a putting green and intentionally choose to think, "Please don't three-putt." Yet we quickly go there and do a whole lot more disempowering thoughts all the time. So while we haven't chosen to think negatively on purpose, unhappy thoughts still pop into our heads. They pop, but we don't choose. That's the key. Now the important question is, why? For starters, thoughts of an infinite variety are always available for us to think. But we seem to find a way to think the same happy or worrisome ones out of habit and repetition time and again. There's an important reason why. The way the mind works, we only have access to certain kinds of thoughts at any given time. And here's what's important to know. Our thoughts actively pop into our heads as a reflection of our current attitude and mood. That's it. Thoughts are not something we choose freely, but rather something we either notice or don't, but always as a match to our present emotional state of mind. As it would seem, happy moods yield happy thoughts, whereas a bad attitude is going to attract a whole different and unhappy set of things to think about. Returning to the putting analogy, it is we who had to be feeling emotionally vulnerable before thoughts of three-putting could even come into play. The thought of failure was not random at all, but instead a match to our fearful energy and state of mind. Had we stepped onto the green feeling poised and empowered, we would have had access to a very different set of thoughts to reflect our confident attitude and mood. If your goal is to think more empowering thoughts on the golf course, or really in any aspect of your life, first change the energy of your attitude and mood. There is no other way around it. By mindfully deciding to feel powerful, stable, and confident, you'll set the tone for the thoughts that are about to appear. Here are a few suggestions for how to make that work. Number 1, keep in mind that you are noticing thoughts and not deliberately choosing them. The quality of every thought matches the quality of your positive or negative energy and state of mind. If you want to think empowering thoughts, get into a good mood first. The thoughts will quickly follow, but only if you remain centered and focused long enough to notice them and give them a chance to appear. Number 2, stop trying to think your way out of a problem. Calm down first. In other words, get into a more centered emotional space and wait for the empowering thoughts to come your way. All too often, we try thinking our way out of a bad mood only to find ourselves thinking more unhappy thoughts. Thinking becomes like lip service and saying things we don't really believe. And number 3, self-awareness is the key. Whether you notice your thoughts and how they feel emotionally is a choice and remains a key component in training the mind. There is a never-ending and constant stream of thoughts you can pay attention to, but without a strong desire to improve how you feel, you'll have no control over the impulses that you receive. It's then that the monkeys are going to have a field day within your mind. Emotional mastery is the hallmark of what we share through Peak Performance Mind Coaching. It's why these suggestions are rooted more in emotion than thought. Begin the all-important process of setting a positive emotional tone to receive, rather than chase, highly inspirational and empowered thoughts. That means giving up on trying to force yourself to feel happy thoughts or chase them down, because it never works for very long. Happy mood, in other words, happy thoughts and stories. With a bad mood, all bets are off.